Welcome back to another FarfaCast, of which we have not done one for a while. And yes, I am looking very strange without the beard and stuff. I apologize. But boys, we have the 3v3 at YCS Atlanta that has just concluded. And today joining me is the winner, of course, below me, among his team of TCG Collectibles, Iman, Farfa Galera? Fala Galera.
Fala, galera.
There we go. As well, we have Luke Parks of Team ARG now, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah. Hello, you're all right.
And your team was first place in Swiss Top 16?
Yeah.
Right. And Golden Goats, Ed Acepcion with us as well from Top 4. So we have quite a lineup for us tonight. Yeah, we're just going to be going through the tournament itself, talking a little bit about the 3v3 concept, what actually happened to you guys and stuff at the event, because it was really, really exciting. So just as a general question, starting off the bat, as we take a look at this, what was your guys' initial thoughts when we had a 3v3 announced?
So I really liked because playing with your friends is really cool, and the fact that 3v3 really lowers the variance, like that all card games have, especially Go, is really, really good. And I think that, I don't know if the guys agree, but I really felt that way while I was playing, that the variance was way better. The fact that you can lose a match randomly because you bricked, and
You would basically always have someone to pick up the slack for you, right? Kind of thing.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Oh shit, do we have Paulo? Have we lost Paulo?
I'm pretty sure Paulo just...
Okay.
Oh, did he die?
Brazilian
okay, that means it's not
internet.
me. That's good.
I'm sure he'll be back in a sec. Yeah, Ed, what did you think when we first had the announcement?
I was really excited because I assumed UDS champions got 2 buys, and my neighbor is a UDS champion who doesn't play Yu-Gi-Oh anymore, and he was like, "Oh, guess I'm playing again," and he ended up not playing again, so that's why I was not on the team with him. But I was excited because
Wait, who was it?
Ryan Murakami, the second ever UDS champion.
How old is UDS? I don't recall his name.
He has decent tops. He's top with blue eyes. He tops with idiot skill drain decks. So
Idiot skill drain decks.
Yeah, every YCS, every UDS he's ever topped, because he's top 2. He got first and he got third at two different UDSs, and every time he plays skill drain, even an Infernoid. So, but yeah, so I was excited because my area, another one of my friends who's Zach Stone, he has a bunch of YCS tops too, and both of those guys are my best friends, and they're like, "Oh yeah, hell yeah, let's go." But classic, one didn't have enough money, one has a girlfriend that hates Yu-Gi-Oh, so I ended up not having them as teammates. So I got lucky. The same day it got released, Manav texted me and was like, "Hey, do you want to be on my team?" And the Manav Cody team that we had was actually almost the second or third day the YCS was announced. It was already confirmed that we were just going to be on a team together.
Cool. Luke, you went really late. You decided to
Yeah,
2
it
weeks
was
before or
a bit
something?
last minute. It's a week and a half before or something. So originally Darren was going to team with Josh and Raf. So I just left them all to it because
Josh,
there was
Raff, and
3
who, sorry?
people. It was going to be Josh, Raf, and Darren.
Darren, okay.
But I just left them to it because whatever. But then Darren couldn't go because of work, so I was like, I do kind of want to go to the first ever 3v3, and I thought if it just tanked and didn't do well, which I thought it could, then I'd be a bit annoyed if I'd not attended.
Yeah, for sure.
So I went, and then it didn't tank, which was great. But yeah, it was insane. It was so much fun playing with another 2 people. Me opening unplayable and them just winning before I've even lost, and I'm like, this is just the greatest feeling.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of anyone who had anything really negative to say. From what I can tell, everyone thought it was an amazing event. Everyone thought it was a great concept, and everyone was super excited from beginning to end. And people just
it's definitely been the most fun event I think I've ever played in.
Yeah, same.
We had a problem because we wanted to talk in Portuguese and Spanish with each other, and we couldn't,
That
and
was a
that
really
was a little
important thing
weird
I
for
wanted
us.
to ask because you guys, like your teammates, like don't really speak English at all. So, and the rules say that you have to speak it. So, how did you guys like manage?
Yeah, that's the problem. Like we had a handicap because we barely could talk to each other. Like Hector doesn't speak English at all. Like super difficult to talk to him without being like Spanish or Portuguese. And Michelle, I could have talked to him like kind of in English, like more pointing to cards and say like
Yeah.
basic words than we can communicate with each other. So, but the actor is like almost impossible. So, yeah, we couldn't talk to each other really well because it didn't. They didn't say that before, like in the fact, for example. They said it there when we get there. So it was weird, but it worked out
Yeah,
in
it
the
was a
end.
bit insane.
Yeah, I don't know how this could work in Europe, for example. How they can
Yeah,
implement this in
exactly.
Europe? Like, there is no way they can force you like play a YCS 3v3 in Italy and make you speak Italian or something.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I assume you guys are just like, such good players that you didn't really need to communicate anyway. It was like just 3 1v1s that happened to be going on. But was there any point throughout the day for you guys that you really felt like you had to communicate at some point, and how did you cope? Like, was it just hand signals and stuff, or?
we did communicate, like especially me and Michelle, because we are playing Sky Strike and it was exactly the deck list. So we usually only communicate after one of us ended the game. Like we really rarely talk to each other between games. Like we're both playing, we almost never talk to each other on those scenarios. But when someone ended their game, then the other one would help. We help each other, right? And there were some scenarios that he found plays that I wasn't looking, and I found play he wasn't seeing in some scenarios. Then that helped, but it wasn't a thing that happened a lot. And I also noticed that I don't know if more impression that I had, but many players were overusing that, like in the point that they are like messing
Overusing the
with each other's
communication?
plays. Yeah, like, but not in a way like they're like slow playing or something. But like there are one guy playing Orcus, the other guy plays Salamangreat, and the Salamangreat guy was helping the Orcus guy, but say all the wrong things. And I was like, okay, keep talking, please. And yeah, like I was playing this Orcus guy, and there was a Salamangreat guy, and they were like saying all the wrong things, and I was like, good. And he kept talking. I was like, okay. And it really helped me, right? So
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
I don't know, maybe having that option to talk if you don't know what you're doing. Like I don't know, like I'm not saying you're a bad player or something, but sometimes you don't know how to play that deck, right?
Mm.
So yeah, that happened. I think that could happen as well. So
I just think a lot of people didn't practice playing like 3v3s. Like we would go on Discord and stuff and just like talk and try to communicate and not try to mess up with each other.
Mm.
So like it's really funny my strategy, like our strategy, like me, Cody, Manav's strategy. So like we trusted each other to not mess up and we didn't want to like, make each other nervous, that kind of stuff. So we just let each other do our thing. But then there were these like small, minute things that we would do that were just really funny. And like my favorite one was it was like round 6 or 7. I know my opponent has Roar, and Manav goes, "Hey, like if you negate that, you're fucked." Like, right? And I'm like, "Oh no, don't worry, I got a plan." Like I was kind of ignoring his advice, and then I did it, and then the guy roared, but that's exactly what I wanted him to do. That kind of thing. Or
Mm.
like my favorite thing to do was I was in the middle, and everyone who was in the middle was always like the team leader kind of thing. But I'm dumb and I don't know how to play Sky Striker, so I didn't have to teach Cody. Well, I had to teach Cody because Cody, yeah, and Manav is like really really good with Sky Striker. No, as much as I make fun of Cody, Cody pulled his weight like literally, but like Manav knew what his deck was. So like my plan was just to talk to the guy in the middle and just like they would talk to me because I'm like very energetic, very like out there, and they
So you're
would just
just trying to
stop
like distract them,
coaching.
basically, right?
Yeah, they would just stop coaching because I'd be like, "Hey, what's up, man?" And then I would literally just be this like huge distraction. I was the counter side.
We're actually gonna move on to like strategies and stuff. I've got like a whole section planned out for that that we can go into more detail with. But just like keeping it more general and stuff. I did want to touch up on a little bit on the rules and stuff. I mean, look, you're European. I would assume that if we get a European event, how would you expect the language rule to play out? Because I realistically wouldn't expect some Italians to be forced to speak English or some Germans be forced to speak, etc., right? Like, in your position, as far as you always go in events and stuff, would you really care if your opponents were saying things that you couldn't understand?
I don't think it really matters. Like, so a lot of the time, like, the only thing we really used it for is like, me and Raf were really the only two that spoke. Like, Josh just went on his own and played Sky Striker and just beat everyone. It was insane. So like me and Raf, the only times we'd really ask each other questions was like, we'd like look at their board and we'd be like, okay, so you have game, right? And he'd be like, yes. And then like we'd just reassure each other that you definitely have game, and then you just watch them to check that they didn't screw anything up. But like, I don't think it really bothered me if we played against Paulo's team, for example, and they were speaking in Spanish, it wouldn't really matter because like you can't afford to spend enough time coaching someone to the point where you're also just like playing your own game.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think one team, the guy I was playing like was trying to coach the person who was playing Raf, but then he screwed up against me because he was too concentrated on the other game.
Mm.
So like I'd be happy to have a 3v3 YCS in Europe and everyone just speak Italian and I have no idea what they're talking about. Like it wouldn't really matter. Like I think
Yeah, because I mean, like at any normal YCS, you're gonna play someone who doesn't know English, and there's gonna be a language barrier.
Yeah.
And like just like unless they practice how to
Yeah.
metagame the other people watching, it's obvious what they're talking about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's like advantages, but like it's minute. So I don't think it's like an actual thing.
Yeah, I agree. Like it's really difficult to like prevent people to talk their own language. Like I don't know how they did this. Like because they said that like there's been like we're going to talk to the judges and whatever, right? And they said that it is because the everything that is said by the players between players are considered public knowledge. So you can't have public knowledge in like another language, right? I don't know. It was like this, and I don't see how they could do this in Europe. So I think if they're going to do this in Europe, and I think they will, because from what I see from like Konami or whatever, they felt happy about the event, like it was a success or something. So I think this is going to be replicated in Europe. And,
yeah, it should be pretty fun in Europe. I'm really excited to be honest. But final general question. Looking back at the Ed, now that you've joined us, you're still muted by the way.
I know.
So looking back at when it was first announced to how it like played out, and you guys have the experience of the 3v3 now, and you've been through it, and you can look at it retrospectively. What was like the most surprising thing about the event itself to you that didn't play out the way you expected to? Like, what was like, did it play out how you expected to, or what was there anything specifically that kind of jumped out at you like, wow, this is actually, I didn't expect this, I guess, other than obviously like maybe the language thing for you, Paulo, but was there any element to like the setup, the structure, how it ran that kind of surprised you about it?
So one thing that I noticed, I don't know if it was like only with me, that people were super friendly. I don't know, like I don't know if it is the fact that everyone's playing among us friends and they are like less likely to be a jerk. I don't know if that a thing, but everyone was super friendly. The atmosphere was lightly, like more light. I don't know.
I don't think you experienced that, did you, Luke? I think maybe you got the opposite end of that, didn't you?
Yeah, well, I had some questions.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it was like this for me.
Yeah, I played against some questionable people, I guess.
Okay, so I was lucky, I guess.
Yeah, so I think it was fine. Like most of the teams that we like A few of the teams that we played against, like everyone was really nice. I think the one thing that surprised me, like above all else, was like in Swiss we played like so round one we played some people who we beat. That was fine. Then round two we played Ed, Cody, and Manav. And then round three we played someone else who was insanely good. We played Hanny's and Cam Neal's team in Swiss, and we played like 4 or 5 good, like really good teams in Swiss. Like 6 of the teams we played in Swiss were in top 16.
Hmm.
And
It
I
was
was like,
really
holy
stacked,
God,
wasn't it?
like, yeah, the top 16 was like insane teams. And then you looked at the top 8, and the top 8 was just like ridiculous.
Yeah.
And you like, it was like every time I look at it, I'm still like, oh my God.
I mean, that's the cool thing about 3v3. Like, the variance gets nullified when you have 2 other people playing their game out as well.
Yeah.
It's really awesome to see. Like, that's what you want from an event. You want to see big names at the top. Like, that's what you feel like should be there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing that I really liked about the 3v3, I think that I didn't experience because I was playing, but from what I heard, the viewing experience of the event, like the streaming and all that, it is way better to see a 3v3 event because there's more than one game, right, per match. So there is this one game that is happening, there is another one happening, and this one ends, there is another one, then this is now 1-1, then there's last game that can decide everything. So I think people watching are more excited to see things like this, and of course the fact that many good players are like playing against each other, like insane teams playing against each other in the screen. This is a thing that never happened before. So this was really, really good, I think, for not only for the players because the variance is low, it's less variance, but also for the viewer experience, which I think is really important to a game in general.
Yeah, as a viewer, it was really good. The fact that 2 matches would conclude and then it would be all down to the last match, like that was just nail-biting stuff. It was really awesome. What were you gonna say, Ed?
Yeah.
The thing that like most surprised me was how little people like thought about the tournament. You know what I mean? It was just a bunch of like people who were just like, okay, let's just play Yu-Gi-Oh. But like there was like so much more to the tournament than just like having, you know, best deck, best deck, best deck, or it's just like, oh, me and 2 of my best friends. Like if you wanted to win, you had to like think a lot different. Well, not think a lot differently, but I feel like there was like definitely like a lot of people who were just like not primed to win the tournament kind of thing. And yes, I say like a lot. So there you go, chat.
Yeah,
I think there were
so
loads of like cool things with the tournament. Like Josh even came up with like an arrangement on how best to seat people from player A, B, and C. Because I was like, player A and C just don't matter. Like player B is the only one that really matters. But Josh disagreed, so he
what
came
did
up
you
with his
guys
own
come up
little.
with?
So like Josh thought that we should that most people had be like, you know, Yu-Gi-Oh players are quite egotistical. Everyone likes to tell them how many tops they've got on things. So he thought that like the good players who weren't player B, he said like the best player will probably be player B unless they spoke a different language. Like ours was decided that Raf was player B because he could speak Dutch to Josh, even though that isn't how it worked out in the end. Like that was the factor that made Raf player B because he could speak Dutch. So then Josh decided he'd be player A because he thought that like his match is kind of like a bonus match because people who are on the other 3v3 teams, like the players who aren't player B but think they're better than the other person, will want to be player A because it just seems cooler. Like it's like you're player A and like
Seems cooler.
It makes sense. Like I guess if you A is better than C, like in a grading system.
I was
So,
talking to a few
people
people
then
about
matter.
how they decided to form their teams around the letters and stuff. And would you guys all agree that generally teams put the weakest player as C based on how you set up your own teams or based on what you saw?
Well, I'm not really sure. Like Josh, the thing is, like I'd have thought that if Josh, like it was weird because Josh won like all his games, but Josh thought that like I was better than him, so I should go as player C. So I'd beat all the other player Cs, and then if he ever won, it was like match because I should just win like every game against player C. But
Yeah,
like
that's how I felt. Like the way Josh felt, where it's like a lot of people would put the best player as player B. I wanted to put the worst player in player B because it's like if you have the best player in A or C, like they're almost always going to win, and then you have like player B playing like the most high variance deck or like a deck that's like very hit or miss or just super powerful, and you just get really lucky against someone who's way better, and that was going to be the bonus match, and that's how I felt.
Yeah.
And secretly we did that. That's why we had striker thunder in the middle.
Yeah, that's why I got Manal
Makes
round too.
sense.
My
Makes
next
sense.
question, I think, doesn't really apply to you guys because you seem like, Luke, you're very tight knit with your CCG guys, now ARG. Paulo, you have your friends from Latin America that you came with despite being on E-Man. And Ed, I guess you're the same with your teams. But I guess I was going to ask, how did you guys decide on your teammates? I think it's, for you in your specific examples, it's pretty no-brainer. But I know that there were a lot of people who just, like, I believe Hani's team, Hani, Cam, like, I don't think they have much of a relation as teammates. It's just like they're just friends who knew each other. But, how did you guys go about selecting your teams in different ways? Or I assume, was it just like a local thing between you all that you just knew each other and have been familiar for your teams?
In my case, I'm friends with Michelle and Hector for years. Like Michelle lives in my city. Like I know Michelle for like 10 years, and Hector I know from a lot of events, and I'm friends with him like a long time as well. So and they are both pretty good. So for me, it was really easy. Like there were a possibility for me to play with my own teams, or my own team, like only men, but not many people went. Only Ericos went, and it was like kind of last minute. So we are on different teams. So it was like this. It wasn't anything really different that happened.
Don't worry, guys. We're just Ed's working on getting his thing working again. Luke, I assume it was kind of similar for you.
Yeah, like I knew they were going, and when Darren couldn't go, like I was gonna team with. I wasn't gonna go at this like start, but then Darren couldn't go, and then work eventually like let me have the time off. So I was like, oh, okay, I guess I'll go. And because like we'd all just moved to ARG, so it was gonna get announced at that event. So I thought it was kind of the best move for me to team with them. Even though like obviously they're like really good friends of mine, but yeah. I don't know. I think it was fine. I think if there was a European one, like I might end up teaming with like Omar and Jawad if I wasn't to team with them again. But like I don't know. I'll just team with my friends.
Yeah. Shout outs to the team that there's I believe there was one team that topped who just showed up and got randomly paired on the Friday.
That's insane. Hard mode.
Yeah, that's literally hard mode. I think it was like two friends and they just randomly found a third. So for anyone watching who isn't aware of the process, if you don't have a team or, someone has to cancel last minute and you show up, you can be randomly allocated someone on the Friday. Am I correct?
Yeah, I think you could sign up and then I think they'd pair you with someone. But there was like a little area just at the end of the line where like people would just like gather. Like I saw quite a lot of people just being like, "Do you have a team?" And they were like, "No," and they were like, "Oh, come on then, let's go in." And I was like, "This is insane."
Yeah.
I'm like, some guys just didn't even ask what anyone was playing. They just like all kind of just gathered and then just went and signed up. I was like, "This is insane."
Yeah.
But yeah.
My next point that I want to ask, so teammates and stuff, I guess for you guys it was pretty simple, no-brainer. For how you picked your teammates. And I think for a lot of the really successful teams, it was a no-brainer because they were all close friends and stuff. But for deciding on your decks, I know it seems like, very obvious why you guys maybe picked your decks because you thought they would be, good decks, even if you were not playing in a 3v3. But how did you guys pick your deck with the concept of a 3v3 in mind? Did that affect the way you chose your deck or built your deck?
I don't think like when we would. Oh, sorry. When we were doing it, like,
No, go ahead.
I think we were just set that like there was no way that all three of us were just going to play like Salamangre or something, because it just has like such a terrible like Draco, Subterra, and all the like really annoying trap deck matchup that you're just not going to win. And like we didn't want to side things like Reboot because we thought that like the popular decks would just be far too popular in Top Cut, and there's no room in the side deck to decide for like every deck. So because we just decided that Josh should play Sky Striker, we were pretty sure that he'd beat like the Draco decks and the Subterra decks every time. So if we happen to play against like 3 of those, then only one of me or Raph has to win. And hopefully one of us will draw like Twin Twister or something and just like win the game. So we were pretty convinced that we weren't all going to play like the exact same deck unless we just thought it was so much better than like we just thought of something that was just way better than that everyone else was playing. Then we'd all play the same. But it was kind of weird because me and Raph played like the exact same deck. And there was a couple of games where like I flipped Sanctum before Raph, and then his opponent just knew he was playing Sanctum.
And did you guys both play like card for card lists?
We played the card for card the same deck. Because we were pretty sure, like we were just super happy with like the deck we were playing, and we'd been testing it for like a few weeks, and we still ended up on like the same list. Like we played the Crusadia Reclusia, which not a lot of people were playing, because it like outs. There can only be one as a main deck out, and it's a level 3 fire, and it outs the Amorphage Goliath. But like yeah, there was a couple of games where like we saw like that they saw that we were playing like artifacts and stuff in the side deck, and then like that changed how they side decked. But I think it was fine.
Yeah, I mean that's like an interesting thing was like if you I guess if you all play card for card the same list, you know, I'm playing against you, our game 1 finishes like really quickly. I can like just say to my teammate, hey, by the way, he's playing Sanctum or something. So I guess that can put you at a bit of a disadvantage. Paulo, how did you pick your deck with the 3v3 in mind?
So I was really set on playing Sky Striker, like not considering what they are going to play, because it was a deck that I think it was the best, at least for me, for the event. And Hector was playing Solemn Bridge for so long, it was super weird to say to him like change decks because I don't know, some weird strategy. I don't know if any strategy could like be better than say, okay, you playing this deck for like 1 month straight, change the deck because I don't know, we can't play the same deck everyone, or we have to play all different decks or something like this. And that I don't know if that can overcome how comfortably you are with some deck. And also, me and Michelle also play the exact same deck. And I don't know if that a bad thing because the other finalists like Aaron, Jesse, and Zala all play the exact same deck as well. Like 3 guys playing the exact same deck. And the funny thing, like you Farfa said about like the Sanctum thing. In our final match, when the game between Izala and Michelle ended, they look at their grave to see where he sided to tell Jesse what cards that I could possibly be siding, because it was like the same deck list. They noticed that, right? So they looked before they end the game. They look at the grave just to see any possible tags or something. So that could backfire like a little bit, but I don't know how much impact it is doing that, like changing decks because of like something like this. Because you have to play against someone who really notices this shit, and I don't know if anyone will like always notice some things like this.
Yeah, I think the only time it helped like a significant amount was the round 1, because like we were playing Baguska and Dweller, and I didn't know which one to make because I'd won the roll. But Josh and Raph had both lost the roll, and they told me their opponents were playing Salamangreat. So I asked them how many cards they were playing, and they were both on 40 cards, and my guy was on 45. So I assumed he wasn't playing the same thing as them, and no one's playing a 45 card striker deck. So I just made the Dweller, and then I played against Danger, and like it was just game.
Yeah, next level.
But that would happen even if you play 1-for-1, right? Like if you were in an event and you play a 45 deck, like in a regular event,
you'd still guess.
It's always make the hell, right?
Yeah.
Ed, are you back with us? Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, cool. Well, tell us a little bit about how your deck building process happened for the event. Keeping in mind, like did the 3v3 element change how you built your deck at all? Or did you just kind of go for what you felt was strongest?
No, we had like a discussion whether we wanted to play all the same deck or not all the same deck, or like the ratios and stuff like that. And so Manava obviously was going to play striker because that's like his deck, that he always plays it. And it's funny because everyone thought when they found out we were a team that I was going to be the wild card. Like I wanted to play like Necroz or like a crazy deck, but I just played Thunder because it was like the most powerful deck in my mind, and I'm not big brain enough to play striker. And Cody was the one who was the most willing to do whatever we wanted. So he it's funny because he was like, "Oh yeah, I'll play whatever you guys want me to play. I'm very talented. I'm going to play whatever deck you think is good." and Cody's like, obviously he's going to play. Manava's like, just play striker, just play my list. And there was obviously a little bit of discrepancy because they did not play the same list. He played like a going. Yeah, he played a going second Sky Striker deck with 2 Metal Foes fusion. But the cool thing was that like listening to us, because we gave him like a pep talk that that what he was doing wasn't working, and he decided to go first most of the tournament, and he ended up doing a lot better. So that's how we chose our decks.
So was he? So I know Cody started off relatively poorly for the event in terms of records, and then are you saying he swapped strategy like mid tournament, like just started going first? Like, is that what you're saying?
Decided to go second the entire tournament, but day 2 he chose to go first most of the tournament.
Wow,
and he won more matches like that.
That's so weird. It's like just completely changing strategy for day 2. But yeah, cool. All right. So we mentioned a little bit about positioning and stuff like that. Do you guys want to elaborate on how you decided on ABC and why you maybe decided to put certain decks in the ABC position? So Luke, you told us a little bit about you, but Paulo, like, how did you guys decide for ABC? I assume maybe they put you B because of language.
Yeah, that was the primary reason. Like, they said to us, if I really want to say something to Hector in Spanish or Portuguese, whatever, I could talk to him, but then right away I would have had to translate everything that was said between me and him to everyone. So that was like really time consuming and really brain power consuming for me, because I think in Portuguese, then I have to speak in Spanish and translate to English between games of Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, this is insane. I can't do this in between. So we just avoid doing this. But and also, I think me or Michelle should be in the middle, because we since we're playing the same deck, we need to talk to each other at some point. So like, if Ecto was in the middle, it would be worse because it was playing Solomon Great, and it would be 2 Sky Strike in the like A and C. So I think it would be worse. And since I was the guy that speak like more languages, I guess I was the guy in the middle in the end.
Is there anything that you guys would like to have seen, kind of maybe not done differently per se, but I feel like for a lot of people that I've spoken to have said that it didn't really feel like a 3v3. It felt like 3 1v1s that you just happened to be with your friends with most of the time. Because, I think it's maybe a case for like you guys, because you're all very competent. You don't need constant coaching from your teammates or something. But I would assume in your position, you're kind of just playing your match and going ahead, and there's not really that much back and forth. And it really is just a case of 3 1v1s that has a record whose result is incumbent upon the whole team rather than just one individual person.
I think the people who thought it was 3 1v1s, except for Paulo's team, because the whole like language barrier thing, they weren't like thinking about the tournament. Like, if you like pre-thought about stuff, then it'd be a lot better. But like a lot of them were just like, oh, I'm just gonna tell A what to do and C what to do. But in reality, it was, you were supposed to trust your partner that they're gonna make the move, and then you could, when the match is over or when they ask you, to help them out. But then there was also just a lot of strategy, like involving just like like I would randomly like look to Cody. I would just troll everybody. Like when I played this tournament, I would just look to my right, like, oh my god, you're so lucky. But like obviously his hand was already good, or his hand is like awful, and it changes everything. Like one of my favorite moments was round 9. Manav looks at me and he's like, I'm not dying, right? And Manav literally only has Ghost Ogre. And I go, what the hell? You're dumb. Obviously you're not gonna die. And the guy like plays around every hand trap and then just gets Ghost Ogre to oblivion and it's just like minute stuff like that. And we already planned like all these like little small things beforehand. You know what I mean? Like it's not something that you just casually do and then it works out.
I feel like you two guys just played normally, but like your team, Ed, like you guys had like the strats. Like I want to hear more. Like tell us what you guys were up to, because this sounds really interesting.
Well, I don't know if you guys ever watched Magic, but Magic has like these 3v3 tournaments, and I follow Magic like a lot. And I just I like playing the outside of the Yu-Gi-Oh kind of game, and I love table talk. I love stuff like that. So then I was definitely the one who was just like, let's just do this, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this, let's be as tricky as possible. So we had 3 competent players, but then we felt like just having like these small, like this stuff doesn't work against good people. But that wasn't our plan. Our plan was just to be playing good decks and having good teammates. But against the weaker teams, we would always win because the lack of variance. Plus, we would just have these small, little, minute advantages. So we were already guaranteed to win like 6 out of the 10 matches. We just needed to like beat the good people, if that makes any sense.
What kind of stuff were you guys trying out? Like, so you mentioned the bluffing your teammate's hand, like to the point your opponent just like collapsed in himself from trying to play around everything. Did you guys do anything else or try any other strats throughout the whole day? Throughout the whole event?
No, I think our biggest strength was just trusting our opponents. I mean not our opponents, but our teammates. So like I'm obviously gonna always trust Manav. So I would never interrupt Manav's matches. Manav would randomly ask me what he should do, but that's because Manav didn't know what to do at that point. So he needed like 2 heads, that kind of thing. And I think a lot of people overthought it and was like, thought that they were just going to get coached and stuff like that, but how it should actually work. So I think it was like us being a little more reserved and not as crazy. That was like our advantage. We would just do like little small things, nothing like absolutely batshit crazy kind of thing. Like we would just trust Cody to do the right thing. We'd trust Manav and they would trust me. And then when we weren't sure, we'd just ask. And like we would beat teams, especially in time. Like we went into time like not on purpose, but because like these people would like, what do I do? Like, and like they would literally talk to each other for like 30 minutes, not knowing what to do. But then Manav was going to go first, so obviously he just lets them do it, and then he just goes Hayate attack. And a lot of people just don't think about the tournament and like the stuff outside of the game, and that's the kind of stuff we did.
Well, for the the communication stuff, you mentioned time a little bit. Did you guys ever have to like hurry your opponents up or something? Because I assume there would be points of the game where your player B asks C, like, what do I do here? And then C tells them, and then they both go back and forth. Like it comes to a point where I assume the tournament and organizers and judges themselves didn't like give sort of extra time there for that communication. But what did you guys think about that? Like, did you ever have points in time? Because I feel like people could really take the piss with the fact that it's a 3v3.
Yeah, we had a couple of times where like me and Raf would both still be playing, and one of like our opponents had talked to the other opponent to the point where he's just playing his game for him. But like Raf's still like, no, we need to play. You can't just play against like Luke. You have to play this game. Like you've been doing it for like 5 minutes or something like that, and like it got a bit insane, really. But like it was hard to judge how long you could give them Like you'd kind of like let them talk through like our play and then be like, think that you're all right to go back to your game. But like it got a bit silly.
Yeah.
Like there was one time where I actually played against we played against Nishad's team, first round of day 2, and Nishad was like the best player on the team with the Thunder Dragon deck, but he was playing against Wrath, but they got deck checked. So I ended up playing my entire match against Nishad because they were deck checked. So Nishad just played out like his entire hand for both games, which was really insane. But I guess that one's just like fine.
So Nishad
because
played
like they
his
played on the
teammates'
paper
game out,
game.
basically?
Yeah, pretty much. Just because he like it was fine because like they were getting deck checked, so they weren't like losing any time on their game. But yeah, it was pretty insane. Like we had a couple of people just taking the piss a bit, like taking like 5 or 6 minutes like to play out their teammate's turn, and I'm like, you can't be serious, surely not. But
Yeah,
yeah,
because I assume that the time allocated per move is the same for each, as it would be in a regular YCS. You know, if you're taking time out to tell someone else what to do, like a couple of words exchanged is fine, but if you're like going through a whole line of play, even just one line of play, I feel like is maybe a bit excessive. Because that's like 30 seconds of just complete non-action, right, in their own game, right?
yeah.
They give us 5 more minutes per round, right? It was 45 minutes all rounds.
Ah, yeah, that's true.
And
You guys did get 45-minute rounds.
yeah, and that, by the way, that helps a lot. Like in regular Yu-Gi-Oh! Like I think if the regular Yu-Gi-Oh! Were 45 minutes, like it would be way better. Because at least in our case, it's almost all, not every time, but sometimes we play like only our game. It seems like we play a regular Yu-Gi-Oh! Game with 45 minutes, which were way better because we barely went to time. Like our team, like all of 3 of us, never drew in the entire tournament. I don't know if you can say this in a regular tournament, like 3 people never drew any game. So I don't know if like if it is just a coincidence or the 45 minutes probably helped something that I don't know.
I think like
But
the teams where the skill discrepancy was very high, that's where they would go into time because they would be
yeah,
the crutch for the other team. But if all of them were like either relatively trusting or if like they were all the same skill set, then there wasn't going to be that much like there's not going to be as much discussion. Like for the Nishad story, it's really funny because Nishad is like the Thunder Dragon guy, but his 2 teammates weren't really well versed in Thunder Dragon. Like Nishad had to beg them, "Can you please play it?" And I'll just tell you how to play it. And that obviously is. Sorry about that. Yeah. No, it's just a ringtone. No, but yeah. So like with Nishad's team, like it made sense because not saying like his teammates weren't good. His teammates were good. It's just that they didn't know how to play Thunder Dragon to the same level as Nishad. So obviously Nishad has to go how to do this, do this, do this, do this. The main reason why our team went into time is because we play people where the B player was overt like obscenely better than player A or player C, and they would be like this tiger mom on top of their kid, like saying do this, do this, do this, and like that's a skill set in its own, picking your teammates kind of thing. And obviously some people can't really pick the best players or their dream team, but you kind of have to let them do their thing or else you're just going to lose it for your team. Even though you're the best one, you're losing it for them because you're going to go into time, if that makes any sense.
yeah.
I can imagine that there's a lot of like over coaching and stuff like that kind of just leads to like misplaying by itself because of just how much someone is trying to get involved with their teammates' team. My next point that I wanted to talk about was the like it's a free v3, so like, you know, I mean, I know I've some of my friends played in like you know, there was one guy on their team who like went like 7-0 in matches and like basically 2-0'd everyone, but they still got knocked out. Do you think there was any sort of maybe some frustrations you had with your own teams, or did you guys witness people being frustrated at their teammates because of the fact that, you know, clearly like someone on the team is going to be better than the other, like, you know, maybe not like League of Legends level of toxicity where they're calling their teams throwers and trash, but did you guys experience any sort of like frustrations or see any?
There was one point where at round 8 we were undefeated, right? So we played a match and I lost, Michelle lost, and Nectar won. So he wasn't very happy, but it was like just like this. I don't see anyone like throwing chairs or something. It was it was the only one, but as I said, like there were times that you win and your teammates lose, and it sucks. But what can you do? But there were times when you lose and your teammates win, and they save your ass. Like really, like it feels really good. Like it happened to me, like more than once, by the way, that I lost and they both won. I was like, thank God they won, and like we still went undefeated and they won because of this. Like I lost twice and they won, and they only lost once. Yeah, I was the anchor on day one, but day two, I was in the top cut. I won all of my games, and yeah, I compensate there a little bit because they saved me day one and I saved them day two.
Nice.
Yeah, like
I think.
Oh, okay, go ahead, Luke.
Okay, just. I think a lot of like the more experienced teams and people who've just played more Yu-Gi-Oh just accepted that like there was always the possibility that you were going to win and your teammates were going to lose, and that's just how it was going to be. Like, I think obviously the worst one is going to be Asala because Asala won his finals match, so he is the only finalist to ever win the match and not win the tournament.
I feel bad for Azal.
Yeah, so like I think you just had to accept that could happen. Like in top 16, like we were fine, but what ended up happening was like I kind of just threw the match, or I threw game one because me and Raf, I'd got a deck check that took 22 minutes, so Raf had finished his match. Ooster's lost to like Imperial Order, Twin Twister, Gazelle, Spinny, or something, and then like I just won. I'd like won game one, and then Raf tells me I can kill him. So then I try and kill him, and then I could have killed him, but I fucked up. But like the safer play was he was on like one card and could just end on counter trap Baguska, and it was just game because I knew he was playing the same deck as Minishard, and that was like just super easy to do, and I could have done that. So I think we had a bit of a, I don't know, we all needed a bit of a chill after top 16 because then game two I just opened unplayable and got destroyed.
But fair, if Raph like saw that you had game or something, and then he was like, I assume, you know, because your deck check took so long, his game was finished, right? So
yeah, his game was finished, so he was like talking me through it because I was like, I didn't think I had game. I did, but like he was right, I did have game, but he worked it out afterwards.
He was talking you through it.
So like, I think he just got ahead of himself and told me to do something, which I then did, and then he was like, "Oh shit!" Like I overlaid 2 guys for the Stallion. But I didn't need to overlay the 2 guys for the Stallion because I needed to fusion those away, and then like use the extra monster, and I did 86. But yeah, like
I think that's an example of just, you know, where being
if I'd have just
too much is becomes
if he hadn't have finished, then like we'd have won the game because like I'd have just played it out on my own, which was weird because like Raf had 3 deck checks in Swiss, so he hadn't finished before me like at all. And so when he was trying to help me, like it was just like I don't know, I couldn't concentrate because like he was talking to me like the entire time, and I was just thinking, fucking like it was just like it was a bit weird because we hadn't like practiced like talking to each other while playing like under any sort of pressure. So I think if like your teammate ends up just like sort of trying to play your game for you while you're also trying to play your game, it can just be really like a bit of a hindrance. But like it was definitely my bad because I'm pretty sure what I should have done was just done the play that I knew was going to win me the game, because like I knew every card in his deck because I'd seen the deck, and I knew like there was no out to Bakuska counter trap because he had Batteryman Solar in hand, and even if he drew Levy in here, it didn't do anything. So that was definitely on me. But yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's a really cool example that you brought. Not cool, but you know, it's really interesting that you bring that up. Like, it's a really fair point about how sometimes the interaction and how that team dynamic can sometimes maybe break down. And you guys, like you said, you kind of just needed to chill after top 16 happened and stuff. So that's really interesting. What were you gonna say, Ed?
Oh no, I agree 100% with Luke that the better players often really weren't mad at the other player. You know what I mean? Because they accepted the variance of Yu-Gi-Oh. Like the people who seemed to be getting upset were like the worst players on the team, or like the players who like were like, I just wanted to get carried kind of thing. Like when me and Manav make fun of Cody, like it's because Cody just didn't listen to us, and when he started to win is when he listened to us. So you know, it was like one of those like you just have to get your head out of your ass kind of like situations.
Mm-hmm.
And it's literally like just like Luke said, like you just have to trust your teammate. You have to trust the people you choose is almost just as important as the decks you chose for this tournament. And I wanted to choose people who were like very level-headed to match like my very like emotional, you know, wacky kind of personality kind of thing. And it's literally just that. Like I felt like the best teams were the ones that weren't scared that their other team members would mess up.
Yeah.
Like that it's crazy because the people we beat, there were some people who had like crazy teams, but they weren't as how you say a group unit, and that's how we got our win. And I think that's crazy that there was so much metagame to this tournament.
That's so anime of you, Ed. You know, basically what you're telling is like friendship is what pulled through for you.
I said that on the stream.
This is exactly what he said.
Yeah, I literally said that on the stream, that it was teamwork and friendship that made us go so far. Basically, that really was like that's really what happened. Because like if with Cody, most people would just be angry. You know, like why aren't you listening to us? Why did you do this? But at the end of the day, we just talked to him and we just said, hey, you want to win, right? So let's just recoup and just show up day two. Like day one already happened, and the toxic mentality, exactly just like in any esport, in any video game, the highest, some of the best players in the world, sometimes they're toxic, but usually the really good ones just accept variance and accept stuff like that and know how to move on. And that really showed at this YCS, where it was just like the best teams were the most level-headed and probably like some of the maybe not the best duelists in the room, but the duelists who work together the most, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Like you can strike a balance, you can keep your emotions in check, and you can just accept that sometimes that's how card games can be. All right, we've been at this for a while now, so I'm gonna move on to like my final point. Just as a broad sort of suggestion to Konami EU, for example, if hopefully we get this event this year, what would be some changes you guys would like to see in terms of the organization and the structure? You know, this could be from anything to, for example, actually, you know, I'll bring up this point later because it actually could be a topic on its own. But you know, is there any sort of major structural things that you guys felt that could have been improved upon at the YCS? Is there anything that you felt maybe rules-wise or whatever could have worked differently?
I think the only thing that, like, I don't know, I was surprised about was, like, we were pretty sure on day one there was going to be more than 512 teams because we saw the registration line and we were like, all right. I asked the people and they were like, yeah, like 300 teams have signed up already. And I was like, all right, okay. And then we went and asked and they were like, oh, we went and asked the head judge. The head judge checked the FAQ and was like, oh, per the FAQ, it's still going to be top 16. And even he seemed surprised that it was still. So I think that's like the only thing that would be like up for debate because we were worried if it like just hit 512, then like or 513 or something, and you go like X2 and just don't top. It'd be kind of like annoying.
And that happened, right?
Yeah.
Like I think X2 didn't top. Some X2s didn't
Yeah,
top.
three or four
I'm not
X2
sure.
teams didn't top.
So X2s from
Yeah.
day one didn't even get to play day two because they
Yeah,
just
that was
Yeah,
huge.
that's also really weird.
Yeah, but to be fair, those teams probably wouldn't have made it to top
Yeah.
16.
Yeah, I know.
So like,
Because it was top 16, right?
yeah, it was top 16.
I think
So
they
the-
technically
it was
did
top
hit the
10
number
too.
for 32, didn't they?
They did.
Yeah,
It was
did.
like 570 teams, but like
Why
in the
didn't they
FAQ,
do
it
it?
just said even
We don't know.
512 plus is top 16. I don't know why it stayed as top 16, but like that was just the plan they had for it, I guess.
The
It's
only
really
reasoning
bizarre.
that I can think is like they don't want to give so many
Mats and
prizes
stuff. Oh yeah.
because yeah, I don't know. Like this is the only reason that I can think of. Because why would you make your tournament worse?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's the only reason I can think of.
Anything else at all? You guys feel like should have been included at all, or changed differently in terms of rules or anything?
I don't think it should be top 32 still. I think it should be top 16. If we're going with like Konami's whole remove variants, let's have a 3v3. I think the easiest fix instead of doing more prizing
More rounds.
is more rounds. Yes, exactly. It should have
Yeah,
been 12.
that's pretty fine.
So you think there should be? How do you have more runs than like top 16? Ed, what do you mean? Like just another
13
round of
rounds.
Swiss?
I guess you can just make it 11 rounds no matter
Yeah.
what.
Okay.
11
And
rounds,
then
12 rounds.
you'd go X2 and definitely top. I think like it was fine as long as you were just like, if you played a normal YCS and had a topping record, then you were still going to top the 3v3. I think it's just devastating if you're like X2 and don't top. I know that does sometimes happen at YCS, but like it's usually fairly rare.
What do you guys think about 3v3s being maybe not completely replacing YCSs, but I mean, what do you think about that? Like, do you think it should be 3v3s, or how do you feel like in comparison to 1v1s?
Once a year or once every other year. You have to make it special. Like that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I think I'd be happy with it like once a year. I don't think I'd want it every other year just because it was so much fun.
Yeah, it can be once a year, but like once in US and once in Europe, for example. Not once a year overall, right?
Oh, that would be good. I think that would be
Yeah,
like
that'd be
totally
cool.
fair.
Okay. One final thing as well. So because of the fact that it did kind of seem like much more of a 1v1 per se with teammates. Although Ed, of course, you would kind of disagree with that. What do you think of like more team-oriented things? Like for Ed, you talked about a little bit about Magic, and I'm sure you're aware in Magic they have like a shared card pool and stuff. Do you think that kind of concept would work in Yu-Gi-Oh at all, or do you think it just wouldn't be great?
I think that's okay, but I really like the dynamic of like everybody playing the same deck, or someone making a meta call that's like we played against Justin Delhaan's team round 8 or round 7, and they were all playing the same list, and they were playing a deck just meant to beat Sky Striker because they thought it was going to be the most represented deck, and lo and behold, they were X1 going into the last round because they had the meta call, and I think that rewards the other teams more if we don't have a shared card pool, because Magic, it's that you're like 3 separate decks almost always, but with the ability, if we just let us choose our decks, there's a lot of things we can do, because that's exactly what happened with the second place team, Sala, Furman, and Jesse. They made the meta call that they thought Thunder Dragon was the most powerful deck, but it was also the most high variance deck. So the odds of them getting flooded out, all 3 of them, were very low. And it really rewards, thinking outside of the box or thinking a lot more about the tournament.
Luke, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't really know how it works in Magic, but like, I guess does it mean like if one person uses X amount of a card, the other person just can't use it?
It's usually like 3 separate decks.
So if you play 3 Ash, I can't play 3 Ash, for example.
That'd just be super weird because like you have too many cards like Twin Twister and like Ash, Ghost Ogre. Like you couldn't you could have one person playing like a hand trap-esque deck, someone else plays against the combo deck and just gets destroyed.
Yeah.
Because they just don't have any hand traps. So I don't think it'd really work. I really liked it. Like I think like if you have something like a new deck comes out and no one's figured it out yet, and 3v3 on the same weekend or something like that, and you all just play like this insane deck. I think that's really cool.
Nice.
So one thing that, I mean, it's just an idea. Like there are some. We had something in Brazil like many years ago. We made a TV3 here, and what we did was it wasn't A versus A, B versus B, and C versus C. It was like before the match start, both team captains roll a dice, and who won can choose which player from their team play against a player from the other team. Then their captain choose one of the matches, and the one who left is the match who left. So there are some kinds of things that you can do. For example, you can have one guy in your team that is going to be the Sky Striker Slayer, for example. So if you win the dice roll, you can choose this guy to destroy your opponent's Sky Striker. Then they choose another match, then the other. So
do you have to like reveal decks that way? Like then everyone's deck or deck name or archetype choice, whatever, becomes public knowledge? Because you're basically winning a dice roll and then putting up your Sky Striker beater to beat the guy who's playing Sky Striker, right?
Yeah, that worked in our tournament because it was a small tournament. That could work like in a top card scenario when everyone know their decks or something like this. I don't know, it's just something that you can do to not randomly play against, not randomly like you're B, you always play against B, but it's still random, right?
Yeah.
But,
that's really interesting.
So degree of.
I was just clarifying, yeah, because I know, like for example, like in Hearthstone, like you have like deck bans and stuff. So I think that's kind of
something like this.
Yeah, there's like maybe like some kind of way that could be incorporated into you. That's really interesting. What do you guys think about it?
Well, that'd be not fun if you can ban a player because you'd obviously just choose the best player every single time. So
not ban, but
no, like you choose your matchup essentially. If you like win the dice roll at the start, kind of thing, you know, like you would know what your opponent's playing, and then you can say that okay, this guy's playing Draco, so I'm gonna play like I don't know, the deck that's maining Twin Twister against him or something like that, right?
I think that'd be cool if everyone knew what everyone was playing, but like obviously there were a lot of rounds where I just had no idea what my opponent was playing, but like they definitely knew what I was playing because like if I just like super bricked and they opened insane, I'd just scoop. And they just add in like all the cards that beat Salamangreat anyway. So I was like, that's cool, but if like your opponent knows what you're playing and you don't know what they're playing, it could be a bit awkward.
Yeah. And that could be a only top cut option or something like this.
That'd be
just an idea. This is just an idea to have like one more degree of like decision making to make this whole team aspect matters more. Because like okay, if I'm playing Ed's team and if I know their decks, I'm never playing Ed, right? Because I was playing Sky Striker. So if I could choose, I would put the Salamangreat to play Ed, for example. So, and we could have like different Sky Strikers. Like I could have played a Sky Striker that's not completely awful against Thunder, and my friend Michelle could have a Sky Striker that's meant to be the mirror. Like it's the same deck, but we have different cards that can make your matchup against some deck better or worse. So yeah, like it's more decision making because I felt that this event didn't have. Ed said a lot of things that were relevant for the team aspect, but it can't be that much. Like the way it is not that much. It's more outside game things, not inside game things, right? So this is just an idea. Like can be other things. It's just a thing that they could think to try to make this work or something. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. Like some kind of like just more deck decision making on top of it to just incorporate the 3v3 more. Yeah, I feel like it does need to feel maybe more than like just separate matches. But overall, moving on to just the final points and closing statements and stuff. I did want to take a look at your deck lists and stuff individually, but you guys have your deck profiles out there, and I feel like we've gone on for a good amount of time, and we'll just probably just stick to like 3v3 aspects right now. What were your like final thoughts and stuff? How was the event for you guys, and what would you like to see more of going forward? Go ahead, Luke.
Okay. Yeah, like it was so like even though like when we got to top 16, obviously it was just super stacked, but like we thought we had a really good chance of winning. We didn't, but like it's weird because obviously I won Euros, but this was still the most fun event I think I've ever played in. Like, just playing with your friends is just so much more fun. And like, yeah, I'd love to see more of them. I think I'd get tired if they were just like every single event, because you kind of don't want to swap what's broken to what's not broken, I guess. So, like, if I played another one, I'd want to team with Raph and Oosters. But, like, yeah, I don't know. I think, like, I'd quite like it if there was, like, one in Europe and one in North America every year. But I still want to play, like, a 1v1 YCS.
Okay. Ed?
Yeah, it should happen. So first point, Konami, do it all again. Like, it has to happen again. This was like the best YCS I've ever played in. Even skewed because, third, but like it was so fun. And if you look at the top 16, it was literally some of the best players in the world, not even in the country, in the world, just in the tournament. If you look at top 4, every team had over 35, 40 plus tops between each other. So there has to be a reason why that happened. It wasn't just sheer luck. And besides all of that, it was literally the funnest tournament I've ever had. There were so many stories, there were so many interesting things, interesting concepts that other teams came up with, other ideas that other people came up with, and that's super important for the game. Just growth and just I love a lot of people give flack for Konami because they're really risk aversive and they kind of just want to do the same thing all the time. But it really showed how much Konami was willing to change the way they do things. And I think that's a huge step for Yu-Gi-Oh! So good job, Konami. That's what I have to say.
I'm pretty surprised that US was the first one to go ahead with it. I thought maybe Europe would try be a little bit more unique and stuff. But yeah, Paulo, what do you think in your closing statements?
Yeah, of course, this event was insane for me. Like, it was really good since we won, but not only for that. Like, it can be a coincidence that not the people here, but almost everyone I talked about this event really like it. And I think in the end, the goal of these games like to have fun, right? Like, this is this, right? We are competitive, of course, but being competitive and like, okay, this sucks is not not the best thing ever. And we are being competitive like in a scenario that it promotes the, like, I don't know, the best things to do well, and also being really fun. Like, this is the point that you aim for, right? And yeah, like, was really good. I'm really happy that we won like a super difficult tournament like this, and also a super fun tournament like this. And yeah, just good things to say. Like, Konami really hit the nail on this one, and yeah, I think they do this more.
Yeah, awesome. As a spectator, I was watching as fucking boring as Sky Striker mirror matches can be to watch. I had a lot of a lot of fun watching this on stream for the most part, especially when it was coming down to the final match and stuff like that. So it was really awesome to see, all of you on stream. Yeah, all of you were featured at some point. So it was a great time. I hope we get to have our European version soon. So, thank you to everyone who joined me today. A really big shout out to Paulo at Eman, Ed at Golden Goats, and Luke from ARG. Thank you for joining me today, especially Luke, last minute and stuff. But yeah, I really appreciate you guys being here. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this. Remember, if you've tuned in live on Twitch, you were able to catch the replay on YouTube. I'll probably put it up tomorrow evening at some point. If you're watching this on YouTube, then this is a live FarfaCast that we had, so make sure you follow me there and stuff like that. Shout outs to these boys here and their respective teams and stuff. We will be calling it a night. If you leave a comment down below in the YouTube video portion of this, whatever, for any questions and stuff related to 3v3, I'm sure these guys may be scouring the comments in a couple days, whatever, to answer anything that you guys might have to ask. So thank you, everyone. Appreciate it, and we shall see you next time.